Welcome back to the DRH show. I'm delighted to have with us today a guest whose expertise in spiritual wellness and breathwork is making a significant impact in the field of mental health and addiction. As the COO and co founder of Silva Wellness, he specializes in holistic approaches to healing, focusing on the integration of mind, body, and spirit. Alex De Silva, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for the intro. It's lovely to be here. Thank you.
Okay. So, Alex, tell us a bit about your background. What were you doing before you set up Silver Wellness, and what inspired you to take this path?
Great question. Thank you. So I spent over 20 years in the corporate field. My main field of expertise was in the recruitment industry. I worked for big tech companies, and I over the years struggled really severely with mental health, with various forms of addiction. That included drug addiction, porn addiction, alcoholism, which led me to really struggle severely, to the point where I've had overdoses. I struggled with so bad with my mental health that I was crying out for help and tried to commit suicide. No longer wanted to be here. Um, and over the years, I just went into that addiction journey. I suffered really badly from trauma growing up, mentally, physically, sexual trauma. I'm always being very open and honest about it. There's nothing for me to hide. I think it's important that we lift the lid around this stigma where suffering, especially as a man, struggling and suffering from any form of trauma or any form of addiction is a negative thing. Yes, it is in the sense of what we're doing to ourselves and the pain that we cause to others. But it's important for us to be able to really be open and honest about these things so we can find, the necessary healing. And that's what had to happen to me. I had to be able to be honest with myself and honest with other people about what was going on for me. And I was able to then come into the healing journey that I've been on for almost 8.5 years. So what led me to do what I do today has always been a passion for me with helping other people. That's always been within me. I think it's just been a natural gift of, just being able to help and support others. Being in the recruitment industry, you have to be a very people person. Working with big companies, you have to be able to speak at all levels. And I always had this passion. Once I came into recovery, I came into a 12-step program, which allowed me to really dive deep into myself. It was the first, I call it kind of that onion, the sort of the layers of the onion. It allowed me to go into myself for the first time with a sponsor, a coach, someone that can take me through this 12-step program and really show me not just the areas that I need to be really accountable and responsible for, but to learn to be really kind to myself. That's something that I ignored for years and didn't think I was even worthy of all of those things. I think on a surface level, I did, like most of us do. On a surface level, we all want to be loved. We all want to be cared for. We all want to have the kind of the Facebook and the Instagram life. But deep inside for me, and this is my own journey, I was in a lot of pain. I was in a lot of suffering. So to bring that round and to kind of close this loop a little bit, as I started to find recovery and work a 12-step program, it opened doors for me, doors that I never thought would ever open, and opportunities. I always liked coaching. I would coach my teams. I always something that I was interested in for myself, personal development. And I started to discover the area of mindfulness and meditation. As I was in my 12-step program, I wanted to do therapy and found a Buddhist monk. At the time, I was living in Letchworth, and there was a Buddhist monastery around the corner from my house. And spoke to this assistant and turned up to this house, and actually this guy was a Buddhist monk. Started doing therapy with him, and one thing led to another. He really liked me and said, "Would you like to learn more about Buddhism and mindfulness and meditation and breathing?" I said, "Absolutely, of course I do." And that's how it began. I started to study around wellness and nutrition, and started to learn about the areas around mindfulness, loving kindness, and connecting with myself. Never really going into this journey, again, very surface level. But it was when I started to really deep dive into who I truly am that I went, "Oh my God, people need to know about this." Because I also started to realize that in the world, other people are suffering too. And we've never really been taught, in school as we're growing up as children, how to process our emotions, how to just simply connect with ourselves in mind, body, and spirit. And that's where it began for me.
Well, thank you for sharing to us your story. I would imagine it's incredibly difficult, Alex, but this led you to starting Silva Wellness. So I'd like to pivot a discussion about Silva Wellness. So, what were your biggest challenges you faced when starting Silva Wellness? And also, can you tell us about the range of services you offer to your clients?
Yes, of course. I think there are challenges in starting any business. This is not the first business we've started. We had a dream and an idea of what Silver Wellness actually is today, and we started this with a different company, which unfortunately during the pandemic. We had to close the business down. I think, like many other people, millions of people around the world had to close their businesses, but we continue to do what we do best, in this, to serving others. My wife, who is also the co-founder, and she's the CEO of Silver Wellness, my wife Lucy. She comes from a psychotherapist background. She has a master's in addiction therapy and psychology. And as I explained, I come from a coaching perspective. So understanding around the mind, body, spirit, how we thrive, how we can be the best version of ourselves. And with that, I also learned about breath work. So we combined our ideas, and we were very fortunate and lucky to receive an investment because of Lucy's fantastic work that she has been doing around the ketamine assisted therapy. She is been a pioneer, as someone who's been really instrumental in the UK for putting together practices, and the journey itself that we now provide in our business, in Silver Wellness, around the experience of what we want a client to have. So the biggest challenge for us, when we had the fantastic news that we're receiving this investment, is, okay, now we need to find somewhere. This isn't just a dream on paper anymore. This is all of a sudden become very, very real. So it's finding the space, it's getting the team together, and it's just starting to put things in place. And for us, we had some very exciting goals for us. We found our premise in July, and we wanted to open, as in fully launch the business to the public early September. So we had a lot on our hands. When we came into our building, it was a shell, and we had to put it together for pretty much what it is today. And it's Lucy, Claire, who is our office manager, myself. Um, just in September last year, just to kind of add to the challenge question that you asked, September last year, I was diagnosed with a very rare spinal condition called Calder-Requiner syndrome. Unfortunately, my diagnosis was delayed, which meant that by the time I got to hospital, an MRI scan which confirmed that I was diagnosed with Calder-Requiner syndrome. And by the time I went from Stevenage Hospital to Cambridge, I was paralyzed from the waist down. So when I had the surgery, which was successful, I woke up, I was completely paralyzed. Couldn't feel my bowel, couldn't feel bladder. My legs were completely numb. I couldn't feel anything, couldn't walk. So I had to learn to walk again. Thankfully, today I am walking, but this was also a part of that challenge because usually I'm very hands on. I like to get involved in everything. And that was very difficult from my perspective in not being able to get involved in some of the physical things that I usually would. So that for me was one of the biggest challenges. You know, um, as I mentioned, my own kind of addiction and trauma story growing up and then coming into recovery, and then only last year waking up, post surgery, completely paralyzed and numb from the waist down. So yeah, I have to say that setting up the business in itself can be challenging, but that for us was fun. But for me was that mental and physical element of recovery, which was a completely new challenge. Completely new challenge. Called a recliner affects 6 in a million people, so it's an extremely rare condition, and you know, I was being told, so many different things. It was so hard to kind of understand whether I was going to be paralyzed, whether I was going to semi-recover. A consultant told me that I was going to be home in 3 days, but I ended up being in hospital for 5, 6 weeks. So the information was uh, was never clear. But one of the things I did is I focused on myself. I believed and I have always known that I will make full recovery, and continue working towards that.
Well, I'm glad to hear, Alex, that you've made full recovery and you're now in a position to help people, navigate pretty much the same circumstances that you've experienced yourself. But of course, at the core of what you do at Silva Wellness is you're helping people confront deeply personal challenges. They might be similar with the personal challenges that you've confronted yourself. Now, I would imagine this is very difficult. So, how does your team at Silver Wellness create a safe and supportive environment for individuals?
Fantastic question. So the number one thing for us in
Mhm.
creating Silver Wellness, what we wanted to do differently is to provide an experience. I think that's the most important thing when someone is coming into the center is is to have an experience from the moment they walk through the door to the moment they meet front of house, to then going into our cafe, which is another business within our business, to experiencing, our cosmetics, within the business. We have a cosmetics range, to trying out our services, whether that's the ketamine lozenge therapy, whether that's breath work, whether that's therapy itself, coaching, or even working with one of our partners who do NAD therapy and vitamin infusion. But let's stick to the core services. So the ketamine lozenge therapy and the breathwork therapy. So ketamine lozenge therapy for us, how we designed this process is is to ensure first and foremost client safety. That's the most important thing. It's the most important thing for us is ensuring that our clients feel safe, because Lucy and I have both been and have both experienced our own personal journeys in overcoming trauma, PTSD, and as I mentioned, addictions, in various form of mental, physical, sexual abuse. So we've both been there. We both have our own individual and very powerful stories of how we've had to overcome these things. So we understand, and we've been through our journeys where things have been successful, and there's been things where we questioned. We were like, wow, things could have been done differently. We could have been held a little bit more potentially. So what we wanted to do is to create a roadmap for our clients that could really emphasize that. So with the ketamine lozenge therapy, we have our process, which is followed very strictly. That starts with a self-assessment, which is done on our website, which once they pass through that, that is then looked at by uh, our prescriber, Danny, who will then go through furthermore questions. And these are medical questions in order for us to assess them in various different ways to see whether they are fit to go on to the journey, onto the 8-week program. Once they have passed all the questions, they are then ready to prescribe. We then send a prescription to our partners, who is a pharmacy that we work with. Once that gets sent to them, we have lock boxes which we lock the medicine again for safety. There has been, news in America, and there has been other things that have come out since, with people overdosing on ketamine, and there's been, other issues. So for us, again, really driving into that safety and care of our clients. The medicine goes into a safety box. The only people that know the code is the pharmacy and the staff within Silva Wellness. So the client never has access to their own medicine. So once they come into the treatment center, they come in, they're welcomed by the team, they get to, have some refreshments. And what we do then is we take the medicine whilst the client is in reception. We take it into the treatment room, and we measure out the medicine, and it's put into a really beautiful little trinket box. And we then hand them back, the locked box. So they're never around when we're opening the medicine. They're in the ground floor, and the medicine is being prepared in typically the first floor. So we always want to set these boundaries, and also as well ensure that the client feels safe through the journey, as I mentioned. And then when a journey comes into the room, he's always with a therapist, and we do have medical staff, in the building. We have sitters. Every one of our staff is trauma informed as well. So, this is all part of that journey, because we've learned through our own experience, professionally and personally, that we really want to make sure that when someone's coming through the door at Silva Wellness, there is not just an energetic feel that they feel safe, they're in a good space, but everything that we're doing along the way matches that as well. And then when they go through their journey, we then have the integration process, and we kind of repeat the process with them throughout the 8 weeks. And we have an initial consultation at the beginning. We have a consultation at the middle just to check and make sure that they're okay. And then we back end that right at the end of the session. We do a sort of a follow-up. So, this is hopefully kind of answers your question. And with the breathwork therapy is the same. We kind of match the process with the ketamine. So I don't need to sort of go into that, but we also have breathwork each week, which then follows with an integration. But the process and the care is exactly the same. We have individual sessions where people can come in and have an individual therapy session. They can come in and do a coaching session. We're building relationships with nutritionists as well. So we're going to start to bring that into the service, because what we're finding is healing isn't just one modality. When we're looking at ourselves as a human being, we are a mind, body, spirit complex. The spiritual term used to be very airy-fairy. Even for me, 10 years ago, if you were talking to me about breath work and psychedelics and, in this world, I would think you were just, a tree hugger. You were one of those really weird, creepy people. I'm one of those people today. and I very proudly say that, because it's transformed my life, because it was done in the right way, around the right people, and we now created this service to be able to replicate that, and be able to allow people to reconnect with themselves. We're not the healers, they are. This is one of the things that we always want to make very clear. We are the facilitators. We're there to hold you through that space. But the most important thing, and this is the bit that we all love within the business, is when someone comes through the door and we hold them through that journey. And as they start going through the journey, they start to connect with themselves in mind, in body, in spirit. They start to go really deep into who they truly are, and really go into that self-discovery journey, which naturally brings out the healing process.
Mhm. And of course, just like you mentioned, Alex, that different modalities when it comes to, implementing holistic healing. And of course, you mentioned breath work, you mentioned ketamine therapy, but as I was looking on your website, I understand you also have additional treatments such as sound healing, yoga therapy, and plant medicine ceremony. So how do these additional treatments complement your overall wellness approach?
So the way that we look at things is, again, we always look at mind, body, spirit, because that's what we are. effectively.
Mhm.
And, we've seen this, I've seen this over the years where, I can go to a psychotherapist, I can go to a coach, and I can do all the mind work, all the retraining around my mindset I want. But if my nutrition isn't right, if my body's still suffering, if I'm not doing the right things to take care of this incredible vessel that I'm currently occupying, then I'm going to continue suffering. So yes, I may have a great mind temporarily, but if my body is not in tune, if I'm still holding on to trauma, if I'm not, treating my body in the right way by the way of, nutrition, so hydration, drinking plenty of water, eating the right foods, making sure I get enough sleep, training, exercising, yoga, whatever that may be that kind of fits within your realm, well, then, I'm going to go back into suffering. And then furthermore, as I've continued, or we continue to go deeper and deeper into this experience, because for us it's a never-ending personal experience. So the more and more I've kind of took this deep dive into myself, I realized that through the breath work, I can connect with myself in ways I never thought possible. And I started to discover that I'm not this kind of, as we call it, this sort of meat and bone, you know, human being. I'm so much more than this. I'm having a human experience, but spiritually, I'm so much more than that. And that journey in itself is the most phenomenal one because it's an ongoing journey. So, how does it complement with everything else? So, the cacao is a beautiful heart centered medicine that we sit in. So it's held in a very same way, in a holistic and shamanic way, and we prepare the cacao in a specific way. So there are different doses in which you can work with the cacao. So you can have the ceremonial cacao that you can drink. So some people now are replacing coffee with a cacao, and they can just prepare that and have it on a daily basis. Now, ceremonial cacao is stronger, so there is a higher dose in there, and it takes you deep into this journey of self. It allows you to really go into yourself. And what we usually do is you set an intention with the cacao, you drink the medicine, then you lie down, and then you go into this, very beautiful inward journey. Then you can then journal through that. So again, we're touching back into mind, body, spirit. One of the things that we were talking about yoga, and even with the other plant medicines that we work with in the business, for example, Kambo. So Kambo is a cleanser. It's comes from a toad, and it's placed onto the skin. And what the Kambo does is it works almost like a scanner. So it scans your body for energy, anything that's been stored. And what it does is you purge this energy out. You purge. So you drink typically about 2 liters of water prior. You do this process on an empty stomach, and as you drink the water and you work with the medicine, and the medicine, as I said, is kind of placed on your skin, then you sit in a meditative state, and then eventually you start to feel the medicine working with you. And again, it's about setting this intention, it's about clearing. So the holistic medicines that we work with, they all work in conjunction of just helping you to kind of clear parasites and bugs and just energetic things that you want to remove from the body. The camo is fantastic for that. The breath work is fantastic with moving these energies out of your body, and again just releasing energies, releasing trauma. It helps to boost your immune system, gives you more energy, more focus, more clarity, more energy, and it takes you on this beautiful inward journey of self, that you start to truly understand and recognize who you are. The silver breathwork technique that we use is, we're seeing the power of it at the moment. This is something that I've been trialing since opening the center. I've been doing breath work for years, but something came to me over about a year ago about trialing a specific journey technique. So breathing is nothing that I didn't discover any new technique. I use connected breathing, which is a powerful technique. It's a beautiful technique, and you can kind of change it and and modify it depending on the journey you want to take. So I didn't create anything different here, but what we have created and what I have designed is the journey itself that we take clients through. And since doing this, it has completely changed people's lives. I've never seen anything like it. And as I said, I've done breath work for a long time. And this is just a feedback from the people that have been coming to us. So hopefully I'm kind of answering your question. Everything that we do is about bringing you back to the purest form of medicine, which is you. You are your purest form of medicine. You are your own medicine cabinet. And what we can do is we can utilize certain plant medicines, certain techniques, certain things that we can bring together that allows you as the being, as this human being, to start to clear away, the toxic, behaviors that we have in the mind, whether that's addiction, whether that's trauma. This is the most beautiful thing about the ketamine lozenge therapy. I'm going through my own sessions at the moment, because I've never worked with the lozenges before. So I can talk to you about my own experience so far, and it's helped me to clear things in the mind, completely rewiring things in my brain, and experiences that I've not had before. And I've worked with other psychedelics, and then using the breath work to continue to clear, and really energize the body, and then just attaching, these other, I call them, just like little toolkits, that we can add, and these things just energize them, and really brings us to the best that we can be.
Mhm. Well, when you were talking about these different modalities that you offer on Silva Wellness, this also reminds me of my previous episode with Dr. Kevin Rees, and he also emphasized, that there are different ways that we can heal ourselves aside from traditional healing, traditional medicine. I'm going to link that on the description box. So if anyone wants to explore more on this topic, just kind of, complement with what you were saying, Alex. And also, you really have a good range of treatment that you offer in Silver Wellness. So all the links will be on the description note. But I understand you're really busy with Silver Wellness, but it's quite interesting that you also managed to find some time to do other things, because I realized that you also do your own, you host your own podcast. So can you tell us about
Yeah.
the topics that you cover? Is it predominantly about wellness, or do you also cover other topics?
Yes, I do. I've put my podcast on hold for the time being, as you can imagine, with the business. It's taken a lot of my time, and as much as I'd love to think I can be Superman sometimes, I'm just a humble human being, and I need my own sleep. I need my own time. But look, I love podcasting. I think it's such an incredible platform to share information, to be able to help others. So my podcast is very much about helping people. It touches on everything that I've discussed already: mind, body, spirit. What are the things that we can do to be able to help us? Information, techniques, whatever it may be, that can help somebody to think differently, to talk to themselves in a more loving way, in a kinder way, to learn to shift their mindset from a lower vibration to a higher vibration, from moving from victim to victor, to start to attract more abundance, for example. And then if we're looking at the body, looking at breath work, looking at nutrition, looking at in ways in which we can keep this incredible vessel healthy. So always kind of following that, the sort of the triangle of the mind, body, spirit. um I also talked about my own journey through the Call to Requiner, and also touching on the spiritual side of things, going into the breath work. My breathwork teacher, Dan Brule, he's the Bruce Lee of breathwork, is an absolutely incredible man. I interviewed him on my own podcast, and he's a wealth of knowledge, when it comes to breathing. I also interviewed, some other incredible guests on there as well, including people that had near-death experiences. They're talking about their spiritual experience and what they learn, from having that experience. So for me, it's about connecting with people who just love experiencing life, and they love to bring and to add value to other people and to show that we're no longer these, human beings that we're just born, we grow up and then we go to school, we get married and we have a family, or we don't. And, we go to uni and, we rack up a load of debt and we work until we're 70. And if we're lucky, we might get 5, 10 years where we can get to be free and enjoy our retirement. And then that's it. And then we're dead. That's not how we live anymore. The world has changed. The world is changing very, very fast. We're now waking up and realizing that we are these incredibly beautiful and powerful beings. And we're just starting to really tap into that. So that's why I love podcasting, because this information is getting out there more and more. We're able to have these incredible experiences and really teach people, about themselves. Because it's not just about me. I'm no one special. I'm just, a human being that is here having an experience no different from you. But what I love that we're doing right now, Dennis, is that we get to share this love and this information together. So that's one of the reasons why I started my podcast. And although it's on hold at the moment, you know, I, uh, I love sharing information.
Absolutely. Now, Alex, with so much innovation in mental health and wellness, how do you plan to adapt and evolve Silver Wellness to meet future needs? I mean, there are now so many mental health apps, and also there are so many articles talking about the integration of AI into mental health and wellness. Do you have any sort of similar innovations in Silver Wellness?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to speak boldly here. We're going to change the trajectory of holistic healing and wellness around the world. That's our goal. We're seeing it now, how it's already changing. And we would love, because for us it's not about competition, it's about partnership. And this is another thing where, as we're now creating this new world, this new way of doing business, it isn't about bringing people down. It's about us coming together and helping to change this world, one person at a time, more and more people, and the more and more of us come together, more of us are going to start to wake up and to heal and to truly connect with who we are. And Silver Wellness is, we're already leading this in Europe. We are the only company in Europe doing what we're doing the ketamine lozenge therapy with the breath work and the holistic practices that we have. We're the only people doing that. And hand on heart, I would even say we're the only people doing what we're doing in the world. There is nobody providing the service that we do. And I'll explain why. So this is where we're very different. For us, it's not just about the holistic part of the business and the medicine, the psychedelics. It's about the community area as well. Because connecting with yourself as a human being is first and foremost. This is something which is so important. We want to reconnect as many human beings as we possibly can on the planet. And secondly, what we want to do is to start to create these beautiful communities where people can gather and understand that we're all doing this for the same purpose. So we have Silver Wellness, which currently is the main brand. But if you come into our office, you will see that we have Silver Cafe, which that eventually in itself will become its own brand and it will become its own store. And we also have Silver Cosmetics, which is our cosmetics brand, that we have also currently within the business. But what we are going to do is each of these three brands will have its own shop front. So it'll be Silver Wellness, Silver Cafe, Silver Cosmetics. And within each one of these businesses will be inside of them. So when you come into a Silver Cosmetics, when you come into a Silver Cafe, when you come into a Silver Wellness, every single person that works there, every single person that goes into those businesses will know each other one way or another, whether it's spiritually, physically, experientially, whether they've been in a session together, it doesn't matter. But most importantly, every single person that will connect, They are being connected by the same reason, that love for themselves, that love for each other, this community that people want to come together again and gather, but in the best possible way. And to touch on around evolution, we're already thinking very far ahead already with what we're doing with the lozenge therapy. Our process. Nobody's doing what we're doing. That's a fact. In terms of the we're creating an academy. So we're going to be creating content and programs and courses, and there'll be so much stuff that we're going to be doing over the years. So we will have an academy which will create into an app where people will have access to learning information, breath work, meditation, yoga, and there will be so much more content that we will develop because we have incredible coaches and therapists within our business with an array of experience who we're now going to start to create some really phenomenal content for people to start to kind of dive into. And then moving forward, one of the things that I have already started to work on and think about is AI. People are so frightened by AI, but AI used in the right way will be phenomenal. We can use AI to really help us to dive deeper into connecting the practitioner, our practices, and the client, just to bring in all of these things together. It's not to all of a sudden say, oh, AI is going to take over the human being. Absolutely not. You will always, in our business, when you come through our door, the most important thing is you connecting with you, nobody else. You will always be the Alex, you will always be the Dennis, you will always be the Lucy that you were born to be, and in your journey. So when we talk about eventually bringing in that kind of AI technology, is to help us further into the research work, which I can touch on very gently. We're going to start to do some research as well. So we're talking about, we've got quite a few things on our plate. We are already thinking so far ahead, Dennis, that, as I said, and I say it confidently, we are changing the trajectory of holistic wellness and well-being globally, because we want to help our customers and our clients, and we want to make the healing journey simpler.
Exciting developments, Alex. So thanks for sharing that. Now, I always wrap up this conversation with some quick fire, lighthearted questions. You told us about Silva Wellness and pretty much about your philosophy, but I've got some lighthearted questions here just to get to know you more as a person. So first one is, what were you afraid of as a child?
Oh, great question. Many things. Spiders. That was one thing. I was afraid of spiders, yeah. And also I was afraid of the dark. And I learned over the years, because I even say it to my children. I say to them, the dark is the safest place to be.
And what is your favorite word in another language?
Oh, my favorite word in another language. My family always laugh at this. I'm from Brazil. So we always say tudo bem, which means, it could mean a few things. It's how are you? Or, it means, yeah, I'm okay. So we always say tudo bem, tudo bem, tudo bem, tudo legal. So yeah,
And if you hadn't been running Silva Wellness, what would you have pursued in your life?
I wouldn't be doing anything else. I wouldn't be doing anything else other than what I'm doing right now.
Mhm.
Yeah. This this
And
this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing. I wouldn't be doing anything else.
well, I'm glad you found your path.
But
And
I'll tell you
finally,
what. Let
yeah,
me. I'm gonna throw a fun one in. I would be the next Joe Rogan. That it would be the dream. If I couldn't do this, I would
yeah,
love to be. I love Joe Rogan. I think he's fantastic with the
yeah.
work that he does, and I would love to be at that level with podcasting, because I
Yeah,
think it's such a phenomenal platform. So that's a fun one.
yeah, absolutely. I'm also a big fan of Rogan. And finally, the floor is all yours. What should people take away from today's conversation?
Connect with yourself. Take time each morning to breathe, the most powerful thing that we have that we're not consciously aware of and we take for granted is the breath. It's the first thing we take when we're born. It's the last thing that we do, when we move on. So really connect with your breath. Your breath is the most powerful healing tool that you have. It's your medicine cabinet. So breathe deeply, breathe consciously, and be very aware of your breath. Also, share gratitude for your life, for the things that you have, for who you are. Connect with people who are going to add value to your life, not people that are going to bring you down and going to bring stress and anxiety and trauma into your life. Connect deep with yourself. This is a journey. This life journey is about you and you alone. No one's going to come and save you. We're here to support and help each other, but this is a journey of self. The more and more you connect with everything that you are in mind, in body, and spirit, you'll start to realize every single day what an amazing and incredible human being you are.
That's a fantastic note to end on. Alex, as we continue to delve on into the transformative power of holistic wellness and its impact on mental health, your insights have been truly inspiring. Alex De Silva, it's been fantastic having you here on the DRH show, and I look forward to seeing the continued growth of Silva Wellness and the positive change you bring to so many lives.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.